Let's travel back in time to Russia 1613, when living in St. Petersburg Palace was one of the greatest ruling families of all time, the Romanovs. Their monarchy stretches from 1613 to 1918. The first of this long line of rulers was Mikhail Fedorovich the First of Russia, ruling from 1613 to 1645. But we aren't here to talk about him. We're here to learn about the final Romanov family that ended their reign. The head of this family was Tsar Nicholas II, who began his reign in 1894. Nicholas was married to the lovely German princess Alex or Alexandra of Hesse. She bore him 5 beautiful children, the first being the Grand Duchess Olga, followed by the Grand Duchess Tatiana, and the Grand Duchess Maria. The youngest of Nicholas's daughters was the Grand Duchess Anastasia. But the youngest of his children and only boy was Alexei, the one heir to the throne. Alexei unfortunately suffered from hemophilia, though was supposedly cured by Grigory Rasputin, a mystic advisor to the Romanovs. Now, Nicholas wasn't extremely loved in Russia. He made some major mistakes that ruined his monarchy's prestige among all sectors of society. One of the first major mistakes that Nicholas made was his attack on Japan, causing the Russo-Japanese War. This attack in 1904 was an embarrassing defeat for Russia, and it led to a lot of tension amongst many Russians. These tensions led to a revolution in 1905 that became an event known as Bloody Sunday. On Sunday, January 22, 1905, demonstrators marching to present a petition to the Tsar were gunned down by the Imperial Guard. This event killed many and outraged many others. The next mistake Nicholas made was in 1914. Nicholas felt obligated to prevent a German invasion of Europe, and he took command of the army and left his wife in charge. Not only did this result in a political crisis, but the army lost and many were defeated. Another problem was soaring prices and food shortage that strained relations with the government and the common people. In 1917, a strike movement against the Tsar broke out and even spread to the army. Nicholas II was forced to abdicate, and all power was transferred to the provisional government. And Nicholas II was arrested by order of the revolutionary government of Russia and confined with his family to the royal residence at the Alexander Palace. The Bolsheviks, a revolutionary group, overthrew the temporary government and confined the Romanovs to the Imperative House, where they were guarded by Bolshevik soldiers.
Around midnight on July 17, 1918, the Romanov family was executed in the basement of the Imperative House by the Bolsheviks to eliminate any possibility of restoring the Tsar to the throne. Waking them up from their slumber, the executors told the family they had to leave due to unsafe conditions and had to reach a safer environment. After reaching the cellar, the mood quickly changed, and the men turned their guns on the Romanovs and opened fire. Bullets flying everywhere, the Tsar and his wife were killed, along with their children. Records from the executors say that even after the shots, 2 children stood, still alive. This began the mystery of the missing Romanov children.
These records say that bullets flew off the children, and later it was discovered that they were wearing jeweled corsets, which blocked the bullets from penetrating them immediately.
The Romanov family were dug up in 1991, formally identified using DNA samples, and reburied in St. Petersburg Cathedral.
However, two of the Romanov children, Alexei and Anastasia, were not found. This made the mystery even larger and more exciting.
Petersburg is gloomy.
St. Petersburg is bleak.
My underwear got frozen standing here all week.
For since the revolution, our lives have been so gray. Thank goodness for the gossip that gets us through the day. Hey! Have you heard? There's a rumor in St. Petersburg. Have you heard what they're saying on the street?
Although the Tsar did not survive, one daughter may be still alive.
The princess got escaped now.
But please do not repeat.
It's a rumor, a legend, a mystery. Whispered in a valley, we don't prove or crack. It's a rumor, that's part of our history.
Anna Anderson, one of the most credible impostors, claimed to be the Princess Anastasia in 1920. Resembling the royal, she was believed by many people up until her death in 1984, when they later discovered through DNA testing that she had no connection to the princess or to the royal family. Just recently, in 2007, a new discovery was made. Two new and unknown bodies were found, just in the vicinity of the 9 other Romanov bodies found in 1991.
Other samples are on their way to Austria and other labs around the world. The package is brought into a sterile room. At each stage, proper procedures are followed to make sure that the samples aren't damaged or contaminated. The tiny samples inside weigh just a few grams each. Are these the remains of Alexei, Maria, or Anastasia Romanov? To find out, viable DNA will have to be extracted, then traced back through the generations to genetic markers shared by a select group of people, the intermarried households of European royalty. The Romanov children, like the British royal family, were descended from Queen Victoria. The DNA in this royal bloodline bears unique identifying genetic characteristics. Michael Coble and his team are more used to dealing with modern remains. These bone fragments are nearly a century old, and teasing viable DNA out of them won't be easy. DNA is fragile and easily damaged by the ravages of time. They've endured almost a century below ground in a climate of extremes, well below freezing in winter and swelteringly hot in summer. To extract and test the DNA, most of the powdered sample will be used up. If this first attempt fails, there might not be enough material left over for a second definitive DNA analysis. And the mystery of Russia's royal grave may never be solved.
After a while of DNA testing, they found that indeed the two bodies were Alexei and Anastasia. This ended the mystery that had been going on for years and years. Without the advanced technology and DNA testing we have today, the mystery of the Romanovs would never have ended, and their fate would have been uncertain forever. The mystery of Anastasia turned into movies, documentaries, all different sorts of things, just because of how big the phenomenon got and how many people had new ideas and different ideas of what actually happened with her. The Romanov Execution was important to the start of communism in Russia, as it allowed a new ruler to overtake and lead Russia into hardship and unrest.
The Romanov Execution will be an event never forgotten in history.